Yes, again, shalom, everyone. So finally, after a couple months, we get to keep going on a Revelation teaching. Right now, today, we're doing part 27, and it's March 29th, 2025. And we're still in chapter 12 of the book of Revelation. And so let's read verse 1. The last time we taught, we covered about half of it, but we're going to look at it again a little bit later in the teaching if we get to it today, because we need to go over some things to make sure that we understand who the players are in the first war, the second war, and the third war before the millennial reign starts. So let's go to Revelation chapter 12 and verse 1. And a great sign was seen in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars upon her head. There's a month worth of teaching just from that verse alone. But now we need to go back and we need to re-examine a few things to refresh our minds before we go forward, because it's been a couple months since we've been teaching. And it's real easy to forget where we left off and what we're doing. And so we need to back up now to Revelation chapter 9, verse 13. We'll read down to verse 21, Revelation 9, verses 13 to 21. After these things, the sixth angel sounded, and I heard one voice from the four horns of the altar of gold before Elohah that said to the sixth angel that had the shofar, "Release the four angels that are bound at the great river Euphrates." And the four angels were released, who were prepared for an hour, and for a day, and for a month, and for a year, to kill a third of the sons of men. And the number of the soldiers of the horsemen were 2 myriads of myriads. I heard the number. Roughly, that's 200 million. Okay, verse 17. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and those sitting on them had breastplates of fire, chalcedony, and sulfur, and the heads of the horses were like the heads of lions, and from their mouths came out fire and sulfur and smoke. And by these three plagues, a third of the sons of men were killed, even by the fire, by the sulfur, and by the smoke that came out from their mouth, because of the authority of the horses was in their mouth and also in their tails. And the rest of the sons of men who were not killed by these plagues did not repent from the work of their hands, that they should worship demons, idols of gold, of silver, and of brass, and of wood, and of stone, those that are not able to see, neither to hear nor walk. And they did not repent from their murders, or from their enchantments, or from their sexual immorality. Okay. Now, as the sixth trumpet was blown, a great war broke out. It was a war between what looks like mythical beasts, allied with certain men who are riding on beasts and going against the rest of mankind. 1/3 of mankind was destroyed by fire, smoke, and brimstone that came from the evil entities. The overlaying of end times biblical prophecies on the menorah encompasses our understanding of those events by connecting and expanding them. So I'd encourage you to go back over the menorahs that I showed you on the papers. And next week, I'll give you some more handouts on menorah to show where the wars are on the menorah. Anyway, this will help explain certain events described in one prophetic biblical text versus another. Ezekiel 38:39 certainly substantiates this. In fact, the prophetic Old Testament passage is a detailed explanation of the events surrounding and including the sixth trumpet. In fact, when we include biblical, historical, and scientific facts, we can coordinate them totally on the menorah. According to prophecy, there will be a great war on which Russia and her allies, which is which is the same war in Ezekiel. So let's talk and take a closer look at how these events are amplified in the book of Ezekiel. Remember, we went over this quite some time ago in great depth. Now I'm going to touch on it again and hit it at just a little bit different angle so we get a better perspective who the players are in these wars, before the millennial reign starts. So let's go to Ezekiel 38. And we'll begin at verse 1. We'll read down to verse 9, Ezekiel 38, Ezekiel 38, verse 1. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set your face toward Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech, and Tuval, and prophesy against him. And say, Thus saith Adonai Yahweh, Behold, I am against you, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tuval. And I will turn you about, and I will put hooks in your jaws, and I will bring you forth, and all your army, horses, horsemen, all of them clothed with gorgeously, most gorgeously, a great company and a buckler and shield, and all of them handling swords. Paras, Cush, Put, with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer, all his bands, the house of Gomorrah, in the uttermost parts of the north, and all his bands, even many peoples with you. Be you prepared, and prepare for yourself and all your company that are assembled unto you, and be you guarded of them. After many days you shall be mustered for service. In the latter years you shall come against the land that is brought back from the sword, that is gathered out of the many peoples against the mountains of Israel, which have been a continual waste, but it is brought forth out of the peoples, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. And you shall ascend, you shall come like a storm, and you shall be like a cloud to cover the land, you and your bands and the peoples with you. Remember, close as I can figure out, this is going to be an army of somewhere between 1.25 million and 1.5 million men. When I figured out all the armies of all those nations talking about, it comes to about that. And that might be conservative. Remember, they're going to cover the land like a cloud. When you stir up an anthill, you got an army of ants that just running to and fro. You can't see the ground for the ants, right? That's what this is going to be. Can't see the ground for the people that are coming. And so Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39 describes a great war between Israel and Magog. I'm going to share with you a couple things just a little bit later that may surprise you, who part of these peoples are. So anyway, in these verses we just read includes a list of those who will ally themselves together in the sixth trumpet war. Before, we did Psalm 83 last time around, and we identified all those nations, who they are, where they're at, etc., and who they're related to. This time, when we look at Ezekiel 38 and verse 5, and 6, it lists the nations, the allies that are going to be attacking Israel. For the first one is Paras, or Persia. Many of your Bibles probably does say Persia. But the actual Hebrew word is Paras, which means Persia. The Persians are believed to be descendants of Japheth, one of the three sons of Noah, through his son Madai in Genesis chapter 10, verse 2. So briefly, let's go there and we'll read the names of that chapter 10, verse 2, because it's going to play a big role in who is who. So Genesis chapter 10, verse 2. And I think we'll read verse 1 just to put it in context, verse 1 and 2. Now these are the generations of sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, Japheth, and unto them were the sons born after the flood. So here they are. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Avan, Tuval, Meshach, and Tiras. That's all we got to need to know for now. So number one, we have Paras, the Persians, are believed to be the descendants of Japheth, one of the sons of Noah, through his son Madai. The center of the Persian Empire today is obviously Iran. In ancient times, the Persian Empire included Western Asia between Black Sea, Caucasus Mountains, the Caspian Sea, the Zartes River on the north, the Arabian Desert, Persian Gulf, and the Indian Ocean and the south. So in other words, it covers a huge area. It covers a gigantic area. Number two is Kush, / be Ethiopia. Kush is Ethiopia. Cush, which is the grandson of Ham, one of the three sons of Noah, migrated south of Mount Ararat into Africa, specifically into Ethiopia, Sudan, and southern Egypt. Probably noticed that, Shadrach worked and helped South Sudan separate from Sudan. He lived there for quite a while as one of the main architects for that to happen. And right now, South Sudan is ready to go into a major civil war. It can explode at any moment as we speak. Number three is Put, or what people call it Put. Today represents the people who live in and around the nation of Libya in northern Africa. They are descendants of Noah through his sons Ham. Number four is Gomer. Is one of the sons of Japheth. Many scholars believe that Gomer's descendants became known as Sumerians. During the 8th and 17th centuries BC, they inhabited the region north of the Caucasus Mountains and the Black Sea. And today, this area would be in the Ukraine, part of Russia. I don't know if you know this. Why all this things going on in Ukraine? Part of this is judgment from above. Why? Because Ukraine had voted 90% of the time against Iran in the United Nations. So this is judgment from above on the nation of Ukraine, because they have come against his people. Someday, not too distant future, there'll be Ukrainians and Russians that attack Israel. So when you see on the news, it's not everything you see on the news.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. Just remember, Ukraine voted 90% of the time against Israel at the United Nations. Judgment upon judgment. There are other scholars that expand Gomer to include the steppes of Eurasia, which encompass the land mass from Hungary to Mongolia. Others identify Gomer as the Armenians. Nevertheless, all the above opinions generally agree that the descendants of Gomer migrated to the north of Mount Ararat, but south of central Russia. Number five, we have Togarmah. Togarmah was the third son of Gomer and the grandson of Japheth, according to the Table of Nations in Genesis chapter 10, what we just read. Some scholars suggest that Togarmah today represents the people known as the Armenians, Georgians, and the Turks. We all see the news lately, Turkey. Don't believe everything you're seeing there either. Even though, yes, there's massive uprisings and jailed political opposition, and the country is in turmoil. That's not the reason why they're in turmoil. Anyway, generally, the people migrated to the land areas between the Caspian and the Black Seas. Number six, we have Magog or Gog. The Hebrew construction of the word Magog would suggest that the G-O-G, Ma, combined with Gog, literally means from the land of Gog, or the land of Gog. Magog means from the land of Gog. Simply put, not complicated. Magog is the descendant of Japheth in Genesis chapter 10, verse 2, we just read. Many scholars identify Magog's descendants as living in the land that lies to the north and east of the Black Sea, including the lands north and the northeast of the Caspian Sea, which is a fairly good landmass. Today, this would be Russia. It's a pretty good landmass, right? Number 7, you have Meshach. Again, chapter 10, verse 2 of Genesis. It lists Meshach as one of the sons of Japheth, and Josephus, Jewish historian, provides evidence that equates the descendants of Tubal with the capital city of Georgia, Tbilisi, which means land of Tubal. Land of Tubal. Tubal, this name also occurs in the Table of Nations as another son of Japheth. The Jubilite people live in the area of the Black Sea. Many scholars believe that they gave rise to the Caucasian Iberians, the ancestors of modern Georgia. And Georgia is a beautiful country. In fact, Shadrach's wife spent quite a bit of time there before they were married. And she just loved the country of Georgia. The word Tubal itself is also considered to be an ancient Georgian tribal designation.
Wow.
That's the place to go. These people groups we just mentioned include the north and northeastern nations of Africa today, including Egypt. Now we have the allies of these people groups coming from the north of Israel, which again include Iran and Turkey, and the nations around the Black Caspian Seas, the large nation that lies farther north, Russia. We also know that the descendants of Japheth migrated north and west from Mount Ararat into Turkey. We know that Turkey wants to renew or revive, I should say, the Ottoman Empire. They're allowing Syrians to butcher hundreds of thousands of Christians. And no one's saying a word. No country is saying a word except the Christians that are living there asking for help. In fact, they beg the United States to come and intervene. They beg Great Britain to come in and intervene. They ask other countries to come in to intervene. No one's intervening. They would eventually inhabit all of Europe, from the British Isles to the Caucasus Mountains, mountain ranges in Russia. However, the descendants of Magog went north and settled in the area we know as Russia. We also know that many of the sons of Ham, people call it Ham, but it's pronounced Ham, migrated south into Africa. So, in the second war in Revelation, the Sixth Trumpet War, the descendants of Ham and Japheth will be attacking Israel. Now let's go back to Revelation chapter 9, verse 13 to 19. Revelation chapter 9, verses 13 to 19. Okay, Revelation 9, verse 13. After these things, the sixth angel sounded. I heard one voice from the four horns of the altar of gold before Eloah that said to the sixth angel that had the shofar, release the four angels that are bound at the great river Euphrates. And the four angels were released who were prepared for an hour and for a day and for a month and for a year to kill a third of the sons of man. And the number of the soldiers of horsemen was 2 myriads of myriads. I heard their number. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and those sitting on them had breastplates of fire, chalcedony, and sulfur, and the heads of the horses were like heads of lions. And from their mouths came out fire and sulfur and smoke. And by these 3 plagues, a third of the sons of men were killed, even by the fire and by the sulfur and by the smoke that came from their mouth, because the authority of the horses was in their mouth and also in their tails. They didn't go easy on the hot sauce. Okay? The descendants of Ham and Japheth will be attacking Israel. In contrast, in the first war, represents by the red horse rider of the second seal. Look at Revelation chapter 6, verse 4. Revelation 6, verse 4. And a red horse went out and was given to him who sat on it to take shalom from the earth, that they might slaughter one another, and there was given to him a great sword. We'll just stop there. So the attackers then are mostly Semitic peoples. Keep it in the family. Semitic peoples, with the exception of the Canaanites, which would be Ham, and the Syrians represent Japheth. Semitic peoples include Arabic, Hebrew, and Aramaic languages, among others, okay, and are primarily found in the Middle East and North Africa. Aramaic is spoken largely in Persia, okay? Today, it's not accidental that we see Turkey disassociating itself from its Western allies. NATO and Israel, and shifting alliances toward Russia. The nations identified as allying themselves together come against Israel, and the three pre-millennial wars are arranged in three distinct geographic rings around the nation of Israel itself. Okay? The nations within the closest ring, they attack first, while those in the second ring and the third ring, they will attack in that specific order. So bear with me and I'll explain that. Meaning Israelites, end times enemies, arise from nations situated farther and farther out until virtually the entire world gets involved. The entire world. Obviously, then, the first ring form a circle in the Middle East with Israel at its center. Remember, Rosh Hashanah last fall, I brought out a box of farmers matches. That box, when you take that box and you walk out on the 50-yard line of a football field, you put that in the center of that field, that little tiny box, it's only so big. That's Israel among all the nations. That is the percentage of the landmass against Israel.
Wow.
Huge. Barely a drop in the bucket, the landmass. Okay, end time enemies of Israel will arise from nations situated farther and farther out. Okay, so obviously in the first ring of former circle in the Middle East with Israel at the center. Israel then is the nation they will attack, hoping to destroy it, but intending to do so only after they have raped the land and pillaged its wealth. Brethren, most people do not know what's in the Hamas charter. There are many things in it that are totally evil. There are two, however, we need to pay attention to. Actually, three, but we'll just stick with two. Most people don't know that in the Hamas charter, number one, is that Hamas cannot negotiate or discuss a ceasefire unless it benefits Hamas. They cannot do that. Because if they break it, they get beheaded themselves. Number two, Hamas cannot lay down its weapons till Israel and the Jews are totally defeated, and that Israel has ceased to be, and the Jews are all dead, period. Now you know why they can't do these negotiations. You got to go in there and wipe them out. The spirit of Amalek is raging in the Middle East. It's raging over here, but it hasn't really touched down to the ground per se. Amalek, the word for Amalek, literally means people who behead. People who behead. Hamas, what do? Behead. So the spirit of Amalek, is running rampant. Hamas has already recruited 15,000 new soldiers in the last few months. You know that? They've recruited roughly 15,000 new soldiers. And they're probably going to double that because the whole world is favoring Hamas over Israel. Remember Psalm 83. We went over that in great detail in the last teaching. Prophesies the second seal war, and gives a list of allies that attacked Israel from the innermost ring at the end times. That is the first war of Revelation, represented by the red horse rider in Revelation 6, when the text introduces the seven seals. Let's go to Psalm 83. We'll read it. We're not going to dissect it a whole lot. We did it last time. But let's go to Psalm 83, verse 1. Tehillim 83, verse 1. We'll read down to verse 8. It'll be verse 9 in the Hebrew Bible. English Bible, it's verse 8. Hebrew Bible, verse 9. So Tehillim, Psalm 83, verse 1, it's a Psalm of Asaph. Okay. O Elohim, keep not you silence. Hold not your shalom. Be not still, O El. For behold, your enemies are in an uproar, and they that hate you have lifted up their head. They hold crafty converse against your people, and take counsel against your treasured ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may no more be in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. Against you do they make a covenant. The tents of Edom, and Ishmaelim, Moab, the Hagrites, Gebal, Ammon, Amalek, Pishlet, and the inhabitants of Zor. Assyria also is joined with them, and they have been an arm to the children of Lot, Selah. Again, I went over this in the last session. But Psalm 83 is an excellent example of an Old Testament prophecy that provides incomparable insight into a briefly described future event told in Revelation chapter 6, verse 3 and 4. This ancient prophecy describes the same war that the Apostle John describes when he writes about the second horseman, the red horse, who will take shalom, take peace from the earth. Because you see, it's important to connect the dots, because it's really easy to get things out of order when they happen and say this and say that. Well, it may be true, but it's out of order. So we need to know the order of things. So back to Psalm 83, verse 6 and 8. Psalm 83, verse 6, verse 7 in the Hebrew Bible. Tents of Edom, Ishmaelim, Moab, Hagrites, Gebal, Ammon, Amalek, Plechet, and the inhabitants of Zor. Okay. In verse 8, Assyria also is joined with them, and they have been an army to the children of Lot, Selah. Okay. These verses in Psalm 83, verses 6 to 8, they do not match the list of Israel attackers in the book of Ezekiel 38, making it clear that these passages refer to two different wars. It's not the same war, it's two different ones. We got different people involved in each one of these wars. Whereas Ezekiel's list includes peoples and nations that surround the Middle East, the allies mentioned in Psalm 83 circle Israel as well, but are located in immediate contact with Israel's borders. Those are the ones who make the first move, first war. Again, I went over all that great list of allies in Psalm 83 in the last session, so I won't do that again. The Bible contains multiple prophecies about the Edomites who attacked Israel taken together. And this is really important. Let's go to, we're going to read Isaiah chapter 34. We're going to read it all. And 35, because we got to keep it in the context of what we're talking about. So let's go to Isaiah. Chapter 34. I know it's a long read. It's not really all that long, but in order to understand the order of the sequences of events that happen, we have to know that. If we're really serious about the end times, to tell people what's going to happen, how, etc., we need to know what we're talking about. Because what if they ask you a question and goes, well, it says in the Bible somewhere, right? So let's read 34, 35 of Yeshayahu. Verse 1, chapter 34. Come near, you nations, to hear and attend, you peoples. Let the earth hear and the fullness thereof, the world, and all the things that come forth of it. Oh, wow. So it didn't stop right there. What did it say? Let everyone know, every corner of the earth. That includes Geraldine, Montana, Fort Benton, Montana, Billings, Montana, Bozeman. Okay. Missouri, too. We can't let Missouri out. Okay, verse 2. For Yahweh had indignation. Oh, wow, look at that. Yahweh had indignation against all the nations and fury against all their hosts. He had utterly destroyed them. He has delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out, and the stench of their carcasses will come up. The mountains shall be melted with their blood, and all the host of heaven shall smolder away. And the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, as leaves fall off from the vine, as a falling fig from the fig tree. For my sword had drunk its fill in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Edom and upon the people of my band to judgment. That's Jordan area, by the way, over there. Okay, verse 6. The sword below is filled with blood. It is made with fatness, with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat and the kidneys of rams. For Yahweh has a sacrifice in Bozrah and a great slaughter in the land of Edom. And the wild oxen shall come down with them, and the bullocks with the bulls, their lands shall be drunken with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. For Yahweh has a day of vengeance, a year of recompense for the controversy of Zion. And the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become a burning pitch. It shall not be quenched night or day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever. From generation to generation shall lie waste, none shall pass through it forever and ever. But the pelican and the bittern shall possess it, and the owl and the raven shall dwell therein, and he shall stretch over it the line of confusion and the plummet of emptiness. As for her nobles, none shall be there to be called to the kingdom, and her princes shall be nothing. Let's read that verse again. That's pretty eye-awakening. As for her nobles, none there. None shall be there to be called to the kingdom, and all her princes shall be nothing. And thorns shall come up in their palaces, nettles and thistles in the fortresses thereof, and it shall be a habitation of wild dogs and an enclosure for ostriches. And the wild cat shall meet with the jackals, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow. Yes, the night monster shall repose there, and shall find her a place of rest. There shall be the arrow snake, make her nest, and lay, and hatch, and brood under her shadow. Yes, there shall the kites be gathered, every one with her mate. Seek you out of the book of Yahweh. Wow. Seek you out of the book of Yahweh and read. No one of these shall be missing. None shall want her mate. For my mouth it has commanded, and the breath thereof has gathered them. And he has cast the lot for them, and his hand has divided unto them by line. They shall possess it forever. From generation to generation shall they dwell therein. The wildness, chapter 35. The wildness and the parched land shall be glad, and the desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose. It shall blossom abundantly and rejoice, even with joy and singing. The glory of Lebanon shall be unto it, the excellency of Carmel and Sharon. They shall see the glory of Yahweh, the excellence of our Elohim. Strengthen you weak hands, and make firm the tottering knees. Say to them that are full of heart, be strong, fear not. Behold, your Elohim will come with vengeance and with recompense of the Elohim. He will come and save you. Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, the ears of the deaf shall be unstopped. Then shall the lame man leap at a heart, and the tongue of the dumb shall sing. For in the wilderness shall waters break out, and streams in the desert. And the parched land shall become pool, and the thirsty ground springs of water, and the habitation of jackal herds shall lie down, and it shall be an enclosure for reeds and rushes. And a highway shall be there, and a way, and it shall be called the way of holiness. The unclean shall not pass over it, but it shall be for those, the wayfaring men, yes, fools, shall not err therein. No lion shall be there, nor shall any ravenous beast go up thereon. They shall not be found there, but the redeemed shall walk there, and the ransom of Yahweh shall return, and come with singing unto Zion, and everlasting joy shall be upon their heads, and they shall obtain joy and gladness, with sorrow and sighing shall flee away. Reminds me of a song, right?
I was gonna say, it's a song.
You got to remember, chapter 34 and 35 go together. They go together. That's really important. Okay, let's now go to Ezekiel chapter 35. Ezekiel chapter 35. Remember, we're talking about Edom. Ezekiel 35. We're going to read that chapter. Because this chapter connects with Isaiah chapter 34 and 35, and will also connect with the book of Obadiah. Okay, Ezekiel 35, verse 1. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set your face against Mount Seir, that's Edom, and prophesy against it, and say unto it, Thus saith Adonai Yahweh, Behold, I am against you, O Mount Seir, and I will stretch out my hand against you, and I will make you desolate. I will lay your cities waste, and you shall be desolate, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. Because you have a hatred of old, and have hurled the children of Israel unto the power of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time of the iniquity of the end. Therefore, as I live, says Adonai Yahweh, I will prepare you unto blood, and blood shall pursue you. Surely you have hated your own blood, therefore blood shall pursue you. This will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passes through, and him that returns. Brethren, let me tell you something. When Yeshua comes back, you don't want to be living in the area of Jordan, Edom, because he's going to kill anyone who's there. Doesn't matter if you're there innocently or not. If you think you can go there to hide in the tribulation period, forget it. That's not the place you go. Verse 8, and I will fill his mountain with the slain, and your hills, and your valleys, and all your streams, and they shall fall that are slain with the sword. I will make you a perpetual desolation, and your city shall not return. And you shall know that I am Yahweh. Because you have said that these two nations and these two countries shall be mine. We will possess it, whereas Yahweh was there. Therefore, as I live, says Adonai Yahweh, I will do according to your anger, according to your envy, which you have used out of your hatred against them, and I will make myself known among them when I shall judge you. And you shall know that I, Yahweh, have heard all your blasphemies which you have spoken against the mountains of Israel, saying, They are laid desolate, they are given us to devour. And you have magnified yourself against me with your mouth, and have multiplied your words against me. I have heard it. Thus saith Adonai Yahweh, when the whole earth rejoices, I will make you desolate, as you did rejoice over the inheritance of the house of Israel, because it was so desolate, so will I do unto you. You shall be desolate, O Mount Seir, and all of Edom, even all of it. And they shall know that I am Yahweh. Notice that all of it, all of Edom. Now I'll go to the book of Obadiah. Obadiah.
Obadiah.
Obadiah.
Sorry.
I'm like,
Obadiah.
Eventually you'll learn the Hebrew names of them. Obadiah, Obadiah. Because one day you will meet Obadiah. Okay, Obadiah, verse 1. Wait a couple moments here. Okay, Obadiah 1. The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith Adonai Yahweh concerning Edom, we have heard a message from Yahweh, and an ambassador is sent among the nations. Arise you, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I make you small among the nations. You are greatly despised. The pride of your heart has beguiled you. All you that dwell in the cleft of the rock, your habitation on high, and that say in your heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Though you make your nest as high as the eagle, and though you set it among the stars, I will bring you down from thence, says Yahweh. If thieves come to you, if robbers by night, how are you cut off? Will they not steal till they had enough? If grape gatherers came to you, will they not leave some gleaning grapes? How is Esau searched out? How are his hidden places sought out? All the men of your confederacy have conducted you to the border. The men that are at peace with you have beguiled you and prevailed against you. They that eat your bread lay a snare under you, in whom there is no discernment. Shall I not in that day, says Yahweh, destroy the wise men out of Edom, the discernment out of the mount of Esau? And your mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed to the end that every one may be cut off from the mount of Esau by slaughter. For the violence done to your brother Yaakov, shame shall cover you, and you shall be cut off forever. And the day that you did stand aloof, the day that the strangers carried away his substance, and foreigners entered into his gates, and cast lust upon Jerusalem, even you are as one of them. But you should not have gazed on the day of your brother and the day of his disaster. Neither should you have rejoiced over the children of Yehuda in the day of their destruction. Neither should you have spoken proudly in the day of distress. You should not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yes, you should not have gazed on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Neither should you have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that escaped. Neither should you have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. For the day of Yahweh is near upon all the nations as you have done, and it shall be done unto you, and your dealing shall return upon your own head. Stop for a moment. Remember, the day of the Lord, the day of Yahweh is always, always Rosh Hashanah. Always, without exception. Verse 16. For as you have drunk upon my set apart mountain, so shall the nations drink continually. Yes, they shall drink and swallow down, and shall be as though they had not been. But in Mount Zion there shall be those that escape, and it shall be set apart, and the house of Yaakov shall possess their possessions, and the house of Yaakov shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yahweh hath spoken. And they of the south shall possess the mount of Esau, and they of the lowland, Philistites, and they shall possess the field of Ephraim, and the field of Shomron. Benjamin shall possess Gilad. And the captivity of this host of children of Israel are among the Canaanites, even to Zarephath, and the captivity of Jerusalem that is in Sephard shall possess the cities of the south. And saviors, plural, shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the Mount Esau, and the kingdom shall be Yahweh's. Okay, so Isaiah 34 and 35, Ezekiel 35, and the book of Elijah are all foretame the exact same, identical, verbatim end-time war.
Wow.
There's a direct connection there. They describe in great detail more of the events that surround the Psalm 83 war, and identify both the attackers, their allies. Now, on the unfortunate side for Israel, and these two end-time wars, first one attacked by the Arabs, second one attacked by Russians and their allies. They get attacked two different times by different groups of people. We have the ones that border Israel all the way around. They attack first. Then the next ring goes out. Then they attack second. Then the third one, what's referred to as Armageddon, which is a series of wars also, culminates in one big last one. The whole world that gets involved in that one. Anyway, these two groups of attackers would form then two rings around Israel. Again, the first ring would be peoples from the lands that are mostly contiguous with the border of Israel. The second group of allies that attack Israel, led by Gog and Magog, form a ring that surrounds Israel but doesn't physically touch Israel's borders. Now, fortunately for Israel, in both of those first two wars, Yahweh steps forward to defend and defeat their foes just as he had done many times in the miraculous ways since the founding of Israel as a separate independent nation in 1948. Okay. Gog and Magog's destruction, i.e. Russia, is foretold in Ezekiel 38, 18 to 23, and Ezekiel 39, 11 to 15. We don't have to turn there, but that when you read both those chapters, you see where it identifies Gog and Magog. And the third war, which virtually all biblical scholars refer to as Armageddon, the allies who attack Israel come from all over the globe. All over the globe. What's interesting is that most of the attackers in the first war descended from brothers, Jacob, Esau, Isaac, Ishmael. Family by family. That represents, if you remember the covenant when we started this lesson, Revelation teaching a long time ago, it represents what's called the inheritance covenant. Most of the attackers in the second war represents the friendship covenant, come from the lands that used to be friendly, with Israel. The attackers in the third war have all had very little direct contact with Israel over the years, but nonetheless, they have allied themselves together to destroy Israel once and for all and commandeer all her resources, both natural and the ones that are developed. Hatred without a cause is a disease inflicted by Hasatan, Satan himself. There's no vaccine for it. Hatred without a cause will spread faster than any virus on this earth. Do you know what many, if not most scholars say what the main storyline is, the main theme, the book of Revelation, what the main subject is? Anybody want to volunteer what the main subject is? Many of the scholars, in fact, most, say that the main theme consists of end-time disasters, plagues, wars, judgment on earth, and the people who live there. Most scholars say that's the main theme of the book of Revelation. It is not. Comes in second. So what's the major theme of the book of Revelation? Remember, let's first start teaching here 3 years ago. This Bible is a wedding manual from cover to cover. The main theme in the book of Revelation is about the bride preparing for a wedding. The main theme in the book of Revelation is just that. The main point focuses on the events that lead directly to the wedding of the Lamb. The main plot literally details the greatest expectations of the people of Yahweh and explains one final time how mankind can be restored to a right relationship with Him. Now, we've done this. We're going to go through here again because a lot of people don't realize what it takes, what constitutes a bride of the Messiah. What does it take to be a bride of the Messiah? So we're going to go through it another time. Revelation chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. So these are very important verses to write down because we're going to identify literally verbatim what constitutes the bride of Yeshua. Start off with Revelation chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. The revelation of Yeshua the Messiah that Elohim gave to him to show to his servants what must happen soon. And he made this known when he sent it through his angel to his servant Yochanan, who gave witness to the word of Elohim and to the witness of Yeshua the Messiah, all that which he saw. Right off the bat, it's talking about preparation for the wedding, because the bride is going to have witness to the Torah, the word of Elohim, and have a witness of Yeshua the Messiah, all that which he saw. Go to chapter 12, verse 17. Revelation chapter 12, verse 17. And the dragon was angry concerning the woman. Remember the woman? Okay, Revelation chapter 1 or 12. Okay, we read earlier. And the dragon was angry concerning the woman, and he went to wage war with the remnant of her seed. It's those who keep the commandments of Elohim and have the testimony of Yeshua. Chapter 14, verse 12. Here is the patience of the set apart ones. It's those who keep the commandments of Elohim and the faith of Yeshua. Right there, point blank, it tells you who is the bride and who is not. See, at a wedding, you have many guests. fact, they're gonna have more guests than the wedding couple, right? Likewise, in the wedding that we have with the Messiah, there's gonna be multitudes of guests, but only a remnant that will be the bride. So here it's the patience of the set apart ones. It's those who keep the commandments of Elohim and the faith of Yeshua. Chapter 19, verse 10. Revelation chapter 19, verse 10. And I fell at his feet and worshiped him. And he said to me, no, I'm your fellow servant, one of your brethren. Those who have the testimony of Yeshua, worship him abundantly, for the testimony of Yeshua is the spirit of prophecy. Ooh. Okay, then let's go to chapter 20, verse 4. Chapter 20, verse 4. And I saw seats, and they sat on them, and judgment was given to them. And I saw the Nephishot, those who were cut off for the testimony of Yeshua, and for the word or the Torah of Elohim, and those who did not worship the beast nor his image, neither received the mark between their eyes or on their hands, and lived and reigned with the Messiah 1,000 years. And finally, chapter 22, verse 14. Blessed are they who do his commandments. Their authority will be over the tree of life, and they will enter into the city by the gate. Clearly describing who the bride is and who isn't. So those are very important things. Simply put, brethren, the curses in Revelation constitute the subplot, while the blessings constitute the main plot or story. The blessing of being the bride, all that comes along with being a bride. After all, in the first chapter, at the very beginning of the book of Revelation, Yeshua comes to John, identifies himself, and begins to reveal the story of the marriage, which is, without question, then the main story. Therefore, mankind has been informed of these things since the very beginning of time, and Yahweh our Elohim had reinforced the same message over and over again during the 6,000 years that he has given us. Write this down. You all know it, but sometimes we got to write it down so we don't forget. Our destiny is in our hands, simply put. Our destiny is in our hands. We choose, we make decisions, we live by those decisions. So our destiny is in our own hands. Okay? Our choices about Elohim and his offerings of a free gift of eternal life, if we choose to cooperate with his will someday be measured and it will be judged. Our relationship and obedience to him will determine whether we partake of the curse or the blessing, or the guest at the wedding, or be the bride at the wedding. The choice is ours. Choice is ours. Most people are not aware of what it takes to be the bride. We do not serve a sugar daddy in the sky. Ah, tonight, right? That don't work.
So the words that you talked about earlier are all people that are fighting against us going.
There'll be a lot of,
Right.
there'll be a lot of people make it into the kingdom, but they won't be, they'll be guests at the wedding. Only the bride, Yeshua cannot marry outside of what he principled of what it takes to be a bride.
Yes, it's doing this.
Yeah. So the bride will be then, has the testimony of Torah and the testimony of Yeshua. With a circumcised heart, that is, too.
And there'll be many people who are killed because they won't renounce.
Yeah, they are right now.
Oh my God.
They're being killed as we speak.
Well,
Because
so the people who aren't right, may be in glorified bodies, or will they?
yeah, they'll have glorified bodies too, but they won't be the bride. the when we get to it, I've done short teachings on judgment of the sheep and the goats. When the shoe touches down on the Mount of Olives, Joel chapter 2 specifically talks about it, and Zechariah talks about it, and what happens. The judgment of the sheep and the goats. The sheep at that time, they will not have glorified bodies. During the resurrection at the end of the millennium, they'll get glorified bodies, but not them. And so it's those people who will be given birth. The ones with glorified bodies will not be given birth, not that I know of. But the ones that don't have the glorified bodies that are in the kingdom, those babies can live to be 1,000 years old, unless they get hit by a Mack truck or something. And so, but yeah. And so this is why if we don't teach this manual, this book, this wedding, the Bible as a wedding manual, we're going to have easy believism. We're going to have the sugar daddy in the sky. We're going to have a God that winks at your, and stuff like that. And we will not have fear and trembling. We will not have those things that cause us to go swallow real big, like, yeah.
But we'll still have joy.
Huh?
We'll still have joy.
Oh, there'll be a joy exceedingly above what one can even think. But at the same time, we've got to remember that our Heavenly Father is a righteous and holy judge. What he says in his word, we either believe it or we don't. We can't half believe it. And so he is very serious. He's also more joyous than you can think.
So yesterday on noon, on the network of praise at the noon news, they said that Iran has announced that it will open some sleeper cells in the USA if they don't stop meddling in Israel.
Yeah, in
Where
fact,
does that put us in the wars?
yeah,
Where is that rumors of wars or? how is
that's
it
rumors of war. Because the rumors of war is global. It's not just a specific region. It's a global phenomenon.
That's pretty alarming. I mean, it could happen anytime.
Yeah, well,
Everybody's flying in places.
yeah, it's estimated that there's between 20 and 30,000 of those people over here, which includes Hamas, Iran, and other factions of other groups in this country.
Watch your college.
Yeah.
And where I was, in both of them, they were Iranians.
Yeah.
I had them all over the place.
Yeah.
I wanted the lab partner.
Who never
He
showed
never
up.
went
Lab.
and showed up.
You just went skiing all the time.
No, he went to Las Vegas, he went to New
Yeah.
York City. He was
Well-
a very wealthy guy. He was everywhere, but he never came to.
In fact, on October 7th, when it happened, Iran already alerted the people over here and else places to be on guard and be ready. For when they say go, they will go.
Those are the people that they should have been gathering up and taking to concentration camps.
Mhm. And,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, well, we'll continue on here for just about another 5 minutes, so. Okay. Again, most people are not aware of what it takes to be the bride. In Revelation chapter 1, Elohim described himself as the first and the last, all at the top, the creator. Okay.
Right.
But he also identified himself as the Messiah who died but lives again. In chapters 4 and 5 focuses on the throne of Yahweh and the Messiah, who is the only one able to open that mysterious scroll. Remember, this scroll is actually a ketubah, wedding contract, Hebrew wedding contract, and it was the Hebrew custom to allow only the groom, in this case, the Messiah, to open the wedding contract and read it before the people. One of the 5 sections of each ketubah includes the obligations of the groom and the bride. The groom then reads these agreed upon contractual obligations, joint commitments, if you will, to determine if his bride is ready One more time, let's go to Revelation 14, verse 12, and then we'll take you to another passage which will confirm it in the Old Testament. Revelation chapter 14, verse 12. Here is the patience of the set apart ones, the saints, if you will, who keep the commandments of Eloah and the faith and the trust of Yeshua. Now, you might want to write right beside that verse, Daniel chapter 7, verse 18. So let's go to Daniel 7. Daniel chapter 7, verse 18. A very important verse. That's what this is talking about. Daniel chapter 7, Daniel chapter 7, verse 18. Very powerful set of scriptures. But the saints of Elyon shall receive the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. So let's read that again. Daniel chapter 7, verse 18. This is a biggie. This is the big one. That's who inherits the kingdom. A non-Torah people will not inherit the kingdom like for the bride. But the saints, or you can put the word bride there, you can put the word bride, but the bride of Elyon shall receive the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. So that's the clear definition of who the bride is. The bride of Elyon shall receive the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Notice that 4 times the word ever is mentioned. That's a long time. That's even longer than forever. Yeah. Okay. And so that verse right there coincides with chapter 14, verse 12, Revelation. So that's the exact same thing. So if we know where it's said in the old, we ought to be able to find it in the new. And if it's said in the new, we ought to be able to find where it's said in the old.
Yeah.
And so when we identify what a what is, should be able to go to the Bible and find what that is. Okay. So that's very important. So basically, brethren, that's the definition of the bride. And I think we'll stop right there. We've done an hour. And I try to keep this at an hour. It might be just a hair over an hour. But I try to keep it an hour because I know you've already had 2 hours of teaching already. And I mean, I can go on if you want, but we'll stop here at an hour. And so we'll pick it up next week at this same topic.